So in this video, we're going to be creating a weather app using Vue. I have a previous video where I created this same weather app using a plain JavaScript. So if that's what you want to do, check it out. It might look a little bit different because I have made some adjustments while I was making this one. Now this video, for those of you that already have knowledge of JavaScript, but just checking out some JavaScript front-end frameworks. And in this case, it is Vue we're using. So I'm just going to show you how this all works. So this is my city. I'm in Abuja right now and it's quite early, very early in the morning, still very dark. So you can see the background is dark. So if I search for, let me see, New Delhi. So New Delhi, they are in day. So you can see the country code here, India, and they have kind of clouds. I think this is a mist. Let's go to another city. So these guys have clear sky. So you can see in the card the animation changes. So the background kind of tells you if it's day or if it's night. So you can see Lagos, it's night. Okay, so let's get started. I'll be using VS Code and I have created a folder. I created a folder on my desktop. I named it Weather App and I've opened up the folder using my VS Code. So what we're going to do first is to make sure that we have Node.js installed. So I'll open up my terminal and I just type node-v. So that's going to show me the version of Node I have installed. Now, if you have any error, that means you have not installed Node.js, so you can go to the website and install that. The next thing we're going to do is to make sure that we have Vue installed. So I'm going to install Vue globally because I want to use the Vue CLI, and I'll do that by saying npm I, or let me just write it in full, install, and I'll put the flag -g, which means globally. And I'll install the Vue CLI by saying @vue/CLI. So this will install the latest Vue CLI. I've already done that, so I don't need to run this. But if you've not done this, just hit enter and that will run. So after that is done, we're going to run the next command, which is going to help us create our Vue files in our folder. And to do that, you just say Vue create. And because I want to create those files in my present folder, I'll just put a dot. Now, if you want to create that in a folder, let's say I want to create a new folder, so I can say Vue create and say the new folder or any name you want. And that will create a folder, which is called the new folder, and then have my Vue files in there. But I just want to have it in my current directory. So I'll just say Vue create dot and I'll hit enter. There will be some kind of options that will come out here. So it's asking me if I want to create in the current directory. I'll say yes. And it's going to ask me to pick the version of Vue I want installed. So I'm going to choose Vue 2. At the recording of this video, there is Vue 3, the Vue 3 version, but I'm going to be using Vue 2 for now. I might have a Vue 3 video in the future. So I'm just going to choose Vue 2, hit enter. And that's going to download the files that are required. So when that is done, I'll be back. Okay, so that is done. And we're going to need to run a command to get it up and running. So the command is npm run save. Now while that it's booting up our server, Vue CLI server, if I go to my package.json file, you can see that command we just ran there. This at the right here we have a node modules folder, then we have a public folder which will not be doing much in there, then we have a source folder. This is where we'll be doing most of the work. I'll just close this up, and we have this file called app.vue, so it's a Vue file, and then we have a JavaScript file, this main.js, more like the entry point to our app. So let me head back to app.vue. Our server is up now, so I'll just open up Chrome. Let's head to localhost 8080. So this is the app. You can see we have some defaults design here, which we're going to get rid of. We just need a blank slate. So I'll get rid of the image. I know what, I'm just going to scratch this so we can see both of them side by side. Then there's this hello world component here. I'll get rid of that. It doesn't matter if you don't know what these things mean, but just get rid of them. They imported the hello world here. We don't need it anymore, so just get rid of that. Then hello world was defined here. We'll get rid of that also. I'll also get rid of this style just to have an empty style here. And I'm not going to get rid of these ones here because every Vue file needs like a template tag, and then in that template tag it needs like one parent div. So in this case the parent div is div. I can get rid of this ID. The parent div here is div. In some cases you may see in some files that the parent div will be something called main. It serves the same purpose, so whichever one is fine. I'll just leave it at div. I'm going to copy the HTML with, let me just save this is blank. I'm going to copy the HTML we used for the other weather app where we use plain JavaScript. So I'll just copy that and paste that here and save. Okay, so we didn't have any errors, which is fine. You can notice that the styles are not there because we use bootstrap. So we need to get bootstrap installed into our project. And how we're going to do that is by using npm. So create a new terminal so I can run npm install. So I'll say npm I bootstrap. So that will install bootstrap for us in our node modules folder. So while that is installing, let's just still go through these folders here on the left. So I have an assets folder here. You store your files, the files you want to use in your assets folder, like your images, your custom CSS and all those cool stuff. Then we have a components folder where it's advised to store your components. Not necessarily that you must store them here, but you can store your components in here. In this project, we're not going to use components, so I could get rid of this folder entirely. You know, I'm just going to do that. Right click on it, delete, and bye bye. So that is gone. So I'm going to import bootstrap in my main.js file because I want it to be used globally. If I wanted to use it just for this file, it's still possible. I'll just import it where we have the styles down here. But I just want to show you how to import styles globally. So I'll say import, and then I say bootstrap. Now, if I just leave it at this, it will require, I'm just going to save it to tell me I require jQuery, because bootstrap ideally needs jQuery and one other JS file. But I just need the CSS file of bootstrap. So I'll go ahead and add this other directory, distribution, CSS, and I'll go for the bootstrap, the minified version. So this would get just the CSS for me. I have not saved my app.vue file. I'll just save that again. And then you notice that it's taking up some styles. You can see that already, but we still have some ways to go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now import the custom styles we used in the previous project. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to first of all create a file, a CSS file in my assets folder, because I want to show you how to do it when you want to import for just one file. So in my assets folder, create a file, I call it custom.css, and in here I'm going to paste my custom CSS file. I'll copy that and just paste that here. And then I'll go back to my Vue file here, and then I want to import this file in here. So I would say art, because it's a CSS file, import, and then I search for the file. I'll use /assets, and I'll just, what's the name, custom.css. So this should import my file for me. So you can see the weather app has taken shape. I think there's something I'm missing here. Okay, ID main. I'll just add ID main here because I want to tweak this. Although there might not be visible changes, but if I go in here and say background, let's say background red, you can see all of that is red. So I just get rid of that for now. Okay, so that's how to import styles for individual files. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to set up our data. Now we know that each of this should change and it should show what the corresponding data from the server or the API is. So we're going to set up our data in Vue, our reactive data, and we're going to do that in our script tag in here. So by default, Vue exports like an object. All of this is an object, so we can add our data object in here. So I can get rid of this name. We don't need that. So I'll create the data object, and the data object is a function, and this function returns an object like so. Okay, I have an error somewhere. Let's see, get rid of this. Okay, now inside our return statement, we're going to create objects. Okay, JSON object. So I'll just say weather. In the weather, I have this city name, just dummy text, say Gorimpa, and I'll just put a comma and create temperature. So what I'm doing now is I want to set up data for all of this contents here. Okay, before temperature, I just put country, and then temperature, I could say 12. It doesn't matter. For it should be the description, so I have my description, say clouds everywhere, and these two here are the high and low temp. So I could say, let's say low temp. I could make it a string if I want, and say high temp. Just any number will suffice. And we have feels like, still put any number in there, and then the last one is the humidity. Just say 55. Okay, so now we have set up like a data structure here, data object. Now the way Vue works is that it kind of creates a shadow DOM, or helps you to do your DOM manipulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Vue know that whatever value that we have here, we want it to reflect in this our HTML tags. So the way to render text in our HTML is to use double curly brackets. So what I have up here, I'll just get rid of it here, put my double curly bracket, and then I make reference to the object, which is weather.cityname. So weather.cityname. Now I'll save. You can see it says Gorimpa. I'll just go ahead and do for the others. I have here my double curly braces, country. Here I have, you know what, I'm just going to do something that I can easily copy. Okay, so I have here the temperature, and here I have description, and here I have, this should be low temp. We have an arrow, dots, and here should be, let me close this, here should be high temp. Keep making a mistake. Okay, so here it's feels like, and the last, it's humidity. Okay, when I save that, you can notice there were some few changes, but I'm just going to show you what's going on here. So we kind of like bound or we're rendering the data we have here in our HTML. And if I open up my Vue tools for Vue Dev Tools, let me see. Okay, we have it here. You can install Vue Dev Tools for your respective browsers. So if I open up my component, you can see we have our data and then we have this weather object. And this weather object, if I open it up, you can see those values here. Now I can change these values and it automatically updates the HTML. So this helps you to do the DOM manipulation you would have done with plain JavaScript. So next thing we're going to do is that we're going to hook up this input field so that we can make requests to the API. So I'll just head back to my console. Let's push this a little bit. Okay, so where do we have that? So we have it here. And what we're going to do is that we're going to use Vue's two-way binding. But first of all, I'm going to create a data here that says city searched. I want this to refer to whatever city I've searched for. So if I searched for Lagos, here will filled up with Lagos. If I save, let me just head back to the Vue tools. You will notice that it's empty. That object is empty here, that value. So I want that whatever I search for here is going to automatically update here. So we're going to do that by using v model. So in my input tag, I'll just say v model and I'll make reference to that data there, which is called city search. Now when I save that, when I head to my, let me open up that component. When I head to my weather app now, when I type, you can see that automatically updates the city search. Once I'm changing, it updates. And because it's a two-way binding, when I make a change here, it also, hit enter, it also updates this one. So the data is bound in two ways. We can update from here or we can update from here. So the next thing we're going to do is that we are going to create a function that listens to whenever we submit this form. Okay, and we create functions by creating methods in Vue. And to do that, just after where I close my data, which is right here, I'll just hit enter and then I'll create my methods, and it's also an object. Okay, so you can see we have that wrapped in an object there. So let's say get weather, and this function, it's let me just make it an anonymous function. It's not anonymous in this case because get weather is the name here. Purposely not using arrow functions, so I'll explain that later. I'll just use function here. And what we're going to do is that we're just going to console.log whatever this city is. So to make reference to this city here, I'll use this.city search. Now if I use arrow functions, the way it works in Vue, this would not be understood. Okay, I don't know if there's a fix for that, but I notice that whenever I use arrow functions, I'm not able to use this lexical scope in my functions. So I just make do with a good old function keyword. Okay, so what I want is that when I hit submit, it should tell me that I've searched for a city. So how do I run this function when I submit my form? So we're going to head back to our form, and then we're going to tack on view on click, or rather view on submit. To do that, in our form tag, I'll just go in here and say view on, and then on submit, I want it to run a command for me, and that function is for get weather. So it's going to run this for me. But I know that the default behavior of forms is that it's going to, when I submit, it's going to refresh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack on that prevent default, and to do that, just where we have our submit here, just put a dot and say prevent. As simple as that. With this, we've tacked on this function to this form, and we also prevented the default behavior of the form. So when I save, I'll go to my weather app and say Lagos. Lagos. If I can spell it well. Okay, so you can see it says Lagos. You can type Abuja, Mumbai. So you can see that is making reference to that function we have down here. So what I want is that when I type, I want to get rid of the city immediately. So I can just do that by saying this dot city search, and I'll say equal to a blank, rather no, nothing. So what I was going to do is immediately I search and hit enter, you can see it resets it back. So because it's bound with two-way binding, we can make changes to it from our function. So I'll type another city, let's say New Delhi. I don't know if that's correct. So what we're basically going to do in here, since we're already making reference to this function here, is to perform our search in here. And because I know that will take a while, I'll make this an async function. Okay, because whatever result we're going to get is going to take a while to come back. So we're going to just quickly perform our fetch, write out the URL. So I know I need a base URL. I'm just going to copy that from our last project and paste that in here, put it in a string, or rather I'll use template string. Now this is the link we're going to be using to hit the API, and in here we need to pass in the city name, and we already have that in this .city search. So what I'm going to do, because I'm using template string, I'll just put the $ and then my curly bracket, and I'll say this .city search. So that will put that here, and we also need to put the app key here. So let me just create a new const and say key equal to, then I'll just copy my key from my API, I paste that here, get rid of that extra space. Okay, so now where we have app key, or where we need app key in the URL, I'll just replace that with the $ and then key. So that will make reference to this one. And I added this other option to our URL because I want my results to be metric. So I want to get my result in Celsius and not Kelvin or Fahrenheit. So Celsius. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to use this base URL to just perform a quick fetch. Okay, so I'll say const response, I'll say equal to fetch. So this is going to fetch our base URL, and because this is going to take a while, I'll just put a wait. So what I'll wait to do is that it's going to wait for whenever this is done, then it's going to attach the result to whatever response it's. So I'm going to console log that just to see what we get. I'll put a response, I'll save, and then let's try that out. Hopefully it works. I'll say Lagos. Good, so we see we're getting a valid response. We can see status is 200, and okay, let me just add .json here to get that JSON value for me. Just Lagos. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to await this also. So let's say const data, because it's returning a promise. Here it says a promise, so the promise is pending. I know it's going to resolve, it's fulfilled. So when it resolves, it's going to get see our data here, but I don't want it to say promise. I want to just get this data, so I'll just create a new const, say await this, right? Because it's going to take a while, and because it returns a promise, so I can await the promise to be fulfilled. So whenever it's fulfilled, I'll just console log what we have in that. So I'll just clear this console so we can see. So I have my data. You can see I have all my data there, which is very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly use this data to update these values here. And to do that is very easy. Let's just have a look at the data. Let's see, where's my temperature? Where's okay, so what I'm going to do now is, okay, so let's make reference to all of these guys. I can do that by saying this weather, let me say city name. So the city name is going to be equal to data dot, because this is data, the data we get, which is this JSON file, JSON object here, data dot name, which is right here. Okay, I'm using their own name on purpose because, for example, let me just save this. I'm going to type Lagos with, or I'm going to type Abuja with small letters. So ABUJA, and hit enter. But you can see it shows in capital A because we're using the name here, and you can see that's already updating the weather app. So Lagos with small L, hit enter, it updates this one because we said that this city name, this weather city name, that's this value here, should now be equal to whatever we get from the API. So we're going to do that for the other ones here. So this was just go ahead and type all of this, and then I'll update it later. Okay, so the method I might use to do this is by using the structuring, but I'm not going to do that in this video. I'll just go ahead and use the dot notation. So data dot, where do we have the country? So we have the country in sys and then country. So data dot sys dot country. And then the other one we're looking for is the temperature itself. So data dot main dot temp. Okay, so data dot main dot temp. And where do we have? We have the temp max, the temp mean. I think those are the high and lows. I'll just copy this, just paste that here, paste the other one here, and I'll just say temp underscore mean and temp underscore max. We'll skip the description. So let's see where the description is hiding. Inside weather main. Okay, weather main. Then there's a 0 here. It's an array. So in the array, a position of 0 description. So what I'm going to do is say equal to data dot main dot weather. Because it's an array, I position 0. I put my square bracket, put the 0 there, and then put my dot description. So that will get this dude right here. And feels like, where do we have feels like? Okay, feels like and humidity, they're all here. Okay, I'll just paste that and see. Oops. Feels like, if you can type that correctly, feels like. And then the last one is humidity. So that should work. Let's search for Mumbai. So we can see all of that changed. Okay, but I can see we have a problem here. This is in decimal. We need to round that up. I think we're lucky that this one's in decimal. So let's round up these values that might eventually be in decimal. So we're going to use math.round. It's just a default. We do that in your normal plain JavaScript. Okay, so let's see which is that feels like. So I'll say math dot capital M dot round I'll just wrap that in there. I'll save. Okay, so that fixes that. So it's we've gotten rid of that. So I'm gonna do the same thing for every other temperature. Who knows if it's gonna come back as decimal, just to prevent that from happening. I'll also do that for humidity. Low temp, the same thing. So we're just rounding up these values with just normal plain JavaScript stuff. Okay, so let's just test that should still work. Lagos 25 degrees. Let me check what Abuja is. 24 degrees. Yeah, we just had a thunderstorm. Okay, so our app is almost done. Now let's add some of those bells and whistles that makes it look cool. So one of the cool stuff we're going to do is that we'll make this background to respond to when it's day or when it's night. And to do that, we need to determine from the data we get when it's day and when it's night. So according to the API, there is an icon that we use in the previous video I did that we use to determine if it's night or day. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in here, let's come down a bit. Let me create a new const that will just check if it's night or day. So I'll say it's, let's say const time of day. So time of day is going to be equal to data. You know what, I'm going to search for a city. Lagos. Let me get where that icon is. Then the weather 0 icon. Okay, so this icon right here. So when you see the letter N, it means night. When it's letter D, it means day. So that is data.weather in array number 0. The icon. Oops. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to the icon. I'm going to check if it contains what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to check if it contains the letter N. So I'll say if time of day dot includes the letter N. So if it does that, I'm going to switch or let you know, okay, it's day or it's night. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to just create the data here in my data object. I'll call it is day, and it's going to be a boolean. So I'll just set it to true by default. What I'm going to do is if it's night, so if this is night, that means that we need to turn up is day. So I'll make reference to this is day by using this dot is day, and I'll set it to false. So of course it is night, so is day is going to be false, else we're just going to leave is day as true. Okay, makes sense. So I'll just add a comment. Okay, check for time of day. Okay, so this checks for us and then it changes this is day. So I'm just going to show you how that is going to work. So open up this, open up my Vue tools. Let's open up this component. So is day is true. Let me search for Lagos. Okay, so Lagos is night, so is day is now false. Let me say if Seoul line day. Good, so is day is true because Seoul they're day. So now let's make it change the background. Now I already have a CSS that I set up this class, a day and night class. So what that does is I'm just going to go at the top, this parent div, I'm going to add a class here. Let me add day class. So with the day class on, you can see that the background is like yellowish, and when I change it to night, you can see that it's dark, and also this changes to white. So what's going on here is that we need to find a way to switch these classes depending on if this data here is true or false. And how we're going to do that is by binding this class to this is day here. And to do our binding, I'll use the shortcut now, which is just a semicolon, so a column rather. So this is going to bind this class to whatever data we define here. So I'll say it's day. Okay, so I'm going to perform like an if, but I'm going to use the itinerary way of doing that. So I'll say it's day question mark. So is it day? Kind of. If it's day, then that's if day is true, then show day, else let it be night. So if this is true, then it's going to output day. If it's false, it's going to output night. So if we save that, of course the day is true by default. So let's say Lagos. You can see Lagos is dark. If I say Seoul, which is day, you can see that works just fine. So the next thing we're going to play around with is the animations that comes up in the middle of the card or entirety of the card. Okay, so I've set up some CSS that I use for the animation. So I'm just going to create that. So in my ad set, I'll create a new file. I'll just call it animation.css. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste all the animation, because if I'm to go over this, this video will be very long. Okay, so in here there are some CSS that determines or that changes the style of certain tags. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to import that here. So I call my style, I'll say add import, just the same way we did the one under. Then I'll put my .assets/animation.css. Okay, so those two are imported now. So what I need to do now is to place a div above the card. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. Okay, so I'm going to do that one after the other so it doesn't cause any kind of confusion. So I'll just copy the first one and I'll paste it. So I'll save. We can see that it's not what we want it to be. I need to get in here, inside the card, inside here, and paste that. Okay, you can see that it's inside here. Let's see where the animation. So I'm going to put it in a container, just put it in a parent div. Still going to work the same. So save that. Okay, so we don't have any change. We have other ones we're going to copy and paste. So I'll just copy another one and paste. Okay, when I save, so this is for when it's snowing. Okay, so this is when it's night. So what we're going to do is that we want to be able to switch these animations, because right now the one at the bottom is kind of like hiding every other one. So we're going to use kind of the same method we used for the class that we just bound to this. So we're going to have several other booleans here, which are like true or false data. Okay, so I'm going to have one that says tell me. I'm just going to make all of them false. Let me call it stormy, cloudy, false, clear sky, false. Let me call this clear night, false. Which other one do we have? I think snowy, false. Now, of course, there are other, I need to put a comma here. So there are other categories of, other categories of this weather you could designed for. I just took these ones. Okay, ran into a problem. My CSS didn't render properly. I'll just comment this and I'll comment them again, and then it's back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we already have all of this as false, so we set up a way in here where we fetch data so we can check depending on what the description is or what the main description is, then we can use that to hide these values. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to where these values are and I'm going to use Vue if. Now Vue if, you can use it to conditionally render some parts of HTML you want. So for example, if I say Vue if, and do we have Sunny? Okay, I'll just go with clear. Okay, we have clear sky. Okay, I'll go with clear sky. Vue if clear sky. So have that here. So what this is going to do is that this portion of HTML is only going to be visible when and only if clear sky is true. So it's actually a cool way to do stuff like modals, pop-up, stuff like that. So I'm going to do the same for that one's Vue if. I think I put snowy, stormy, Vue if, stormy, Vue if, I believe I have cloudy, and this one is Vue if clear night. So save that. You notice that they're all gone because everything is false. So let me just change one of these. Let's choose stormy. So I'll just change it to true from here. I'll save. We can see we have that stormy animation, which is cool. What we want. By default, we have this default one. I'll add another check, another visible check, which is, I'll just call it visible. So what it's going to do is that it's going to help us turn on or off visible. Okay, put a comma. It's going to help us turn off and on our card. Okay, so what that visible is going to do is that it's going to help our card to only be visible when we have a result. So I'll go to where the card started. Where do we have the card, which is here? So instead of using dnone like we used in the other one and then we're changing the dnone, I'll just say Vue if visible. So this would, if our visible is false, which is going to be false by default, all of the card is not going to be there. And then when we get the result, so in here where we have a result, after I've done all my checks, I've done everything, I can say this, the visible equal to true. So only when I've gotten a result, I've done all of this, then it says true, and then the card becomes visible. So let us go ahead and just create the thing that checks the weather. So I can do that underneath here. I can say check weather animations. So I'll say if, here, say const main weather, so I don't keep typing that, equal to data.weather, this is in an array dot main. So I'm going to say if main weather contains, not contains, includes, let's see, I search for Lagos, I'll just check the console, a few clouds, so I am looking for the description, where's this one, so clouds with a capital C. So if it contains clouds, so what I'm going to do is that I'll just copy all the weather here, and paste that here. I need to change all of this to the equal sign. So in all of this, which one do I need to set to true? Is just going to be the clouds. Okay, so I set that to true. I need to also let go of this and make it. Okay, so let's see what the error is. Okay, so all of these should have a this in front of them, so that is making reference to that one in the data. Okay, so I search for Lagos. You can see that animation is there. I'll just close this. Okay, which is good. And we're going to do this for the other scenarios. So I'm going to just paste that a couple of times. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but this is just to make you understand. I'm kind of writing so many code. There are better ways to shorten this. Okay, so the next one is going to be for thunderstorm, and this one I'm going to set stormy to true. Next one I'm going to work on is, let's say, clear. Okay, now there are two possibilities for clear. So they could be clear morning, clear night. So I'm going to also check if it's day. So if it's day, or I have to put if this dot day. If not, we're going to get an error. So if this dot day, that if it's day, and if it's clear, that means we're going to go with clear sky. So I'll copy this again, because if it's clear and if it's not day, then we're going to go with clear night. So I'll change this to false, and I'll make this true. And the last one that we've prepared for is if it's snowing, which is here. Snow. I have to go check the documentation. Okay, let's check the weather icons, because I know I'll see something there. So when do we have snow? So snow is just snow. So let's see, snow. So if we include snow, snow will be true. Okay, so we have that saved. Let us try this out. Let me search for soul. Oh, so they are in day and they have clear sky, which is okay. Lagos is in night, but our HD is not working. View depth tools. Let's see. Is day is false. So is day is false, and okay, here is meant to be cloud and not clear. Let me check. Okay, we have clear sky. Clear sky is just for day, so I think we'll need that. Let's go with cloud. Is it cloud? Okay, let's see. Okay, much better. So we can see that is working. And then what happens when I type a city that doesn't exist? So let's handle that when we type something that doesn't exist. So we wanted to say no city found, something like that. So I'll just go ahead before my card. I'll create a p tag that says let's say no city. I just say no city found. I'll just put a class so I can center this. Text center. Okay, so no city found. I'll just put some margin on the y-axis so it comes down a bit. So we want this to not be visible when we have a city. So I'll put a view if here, and view if city found. Okay, so by default, city found is going to be false, so that, okay, let's put a comma so that doesn't show up at all. I'm going to put this guy in a try and catch so that when there's an error in the catch, then I'll make the no cities found visible. Okay, so from here, then just from this fetch, I'll say fetch weather, and I will do the try. Let's use this try and catch, and I'm going to take all of this. Let's see, where does it stop? Let's see. Okay, so I'm taking all of this. I'll cut all of this, and of course we have errors because I saved. I put that here. Then in the catch, I'm just console log the error just to see what the error might be, and then I'll say this city found. The city found will be true. I'll also put this city found false, so just in case we will now found the city, we have that false. Let me reset my styles. Okay, so type a city that doesn't exist. It says no city found, which is fine. So what if we type a city that exists? That goes, then it shows us Lagos. So if you have any questions, don't forget to leave it in the comment section, and do leave a thumbs up if this video has helped in any way. And please subscribe. It kind of helps me to make more videos. So see you guys in the next video.